Boy, oh boy, how the forecast models change, and they have changed especially for Saturday and Sunday. In this video, we're going to talk about what exactly has changed and the tornado potential that exists in west of Indianapolis tomorrow. Hello everybody, the time is 10:57 p.m. and it is August 4th. Welcome to another update from Great Lakes Weather. And this is a late night update because I've just been waiting for the 0Z models to sort of come out and show exactly what is going to be happening on Saturday and Sunday. And now we've got a pretty firm grasp, or at least a better grasp, on what exactly is going to be taking place. And there has been quite a bit of change. At first I said Sunday was going to be the day for storm chasing. It's actually going to be tomorrow, Saturday, and it looks like it's going to be west of Indianapolis between the I-70 and I-74 corridor. So if you live in that area, I'm going to be chasing that area. I'm going to be watching for this setup for severe thunderstorms, and we're going to get right to it with regards to this setup. Now, I'm going to explain what you're looking at here with the Storm Prediction Center setup. They currently have a marginal risk for severe weather out for Western Indiana. I think that's going to be upgraded in the next outlook, and I think it could be upgraded even to a slight or even an enhanced risk across this region because the latest models are really trending towards the setup for a very strong MCV to kind of strengthen, draw off the instability, and draw off the wind shear that's going to be in the atmosphere at the time across Western Indiana. And that's likely going to be producing some potential for tornadoes between the I-70 and I-74 corridor. That's where I'm targeting tomorrow, and it looks like it's going to be a slow-moving storm, which means it'll be easy to keep up with. Potential to see some pretty decent storms on this MCV that's going to be moving in. I'll explain what an MCV is and why the models are so different now, but Saturday looks like the threat, and I think this threat is going to be shifted farther to the west, and I think it's going to be shaved off a little bit, probably to remove much out of Ohio and probably get rid of the threat zone for Michigan as well. I really think those places are going to be out of this threat zone, and all of this has to do with a major change in the models that occurred during the day today. This sometimes does happen. So here is exactly what we are looking at now. I'm going to zoom out to a regional view. Now, originally, what I was telling you guys was that all we're going to be dealing with tomorrow, let's go back to actually a run from 0Z Friday. So this is a previous model run, one we had in the past. Now, what you'll notice is that the models depict the development of a cluster of thunderstorms across northern Missouri. That actually did happen today, and it did produce a tornado down there. And then it sort of died out, didn't really draw too much strength, and this storm moved in relatively quickly into the Great Lakes region. Scrap that. That's changed quite a bit. Alright, we're going to go to the latest model run, Saturday at 0Z for the HRRR. So notice still showing those storms that fired across western or eastern Missouri today, and those will continue to move out. By the time we get to the afternoon on Saturday, you notice that there is a little spot of low pressure here. This is what is called a mesocyclonic vortex. Okay, it's an area of low pressure that has quite a bit of spin and wind shear embedded within it, and when those move into a favorable environment that has higher instability, they have the capability of producing a tornado. Now, this is something that did not show up on the models. In fact, it showed that this low sort of started to weaken, but rather it's going to kind of sustain itself and move into this region in a favorable environment. So the expectation is that there could be some severe weather with especially tornado potential embedded with this MCV, and the NAM actually shows this in a pretty good light as you take a look at it. But again, I'm targeting this area right here, which is the I-70, I-74 corridor. Models have consistently been hinting at a supercell that is going to be developing north of Terre Haute, and is going to be continuing off to the east over the next several hours. So this is going to be a good storm to track, going to be slow moving, good road network out there, going to be really easy to keep up with. So there's going to be quite a bit of chasing on the table tomorrow. Sunday, I really think Sunday is going to be more of an overnight event across the Great Lakes region, and I'll show you why I think that in just a minute. But one thing to look at first of all is that this is 7 p.m. You notice that all the storms are in central Illinois, and by the time they reach the Great Lakes region, it's going to be close to dark. So you're not really going to get a chance to see too much with these storms as they move in. I think the primary target now is tomorrow across western Indiana between the I-70 and I-74 corridor. So let's zoom in on a more closer view of this. So let's do a forecast loop of the NAM, and then we'll compare models and see exactly how this setup is going to unfold. So we have these storms moving through eastern Missouri right now, okay? And they're going to continue to move through, start to dissipate as they head into Illinois. And you notice that this low is still kind of sitting out here. You can see the center of the mesocyclonic vortex that is going to be surging across Illinois during the morning hours and the afternoon hours on Saturday. Now notice how slow moving it is. This low pressure, this MCV is moving pretty slow across Illinois, and the expectation is that it will stay farther to the south and it will begin to impact areas across eastern Illinois and western Indiana by 3 p.m. Okay, so you can start to see a re-intensification of showers and thunderstorms along the southern edge. Now keep in mind, let's take a look at the wind shear values ahead of this setup, okay? So if you get a look at the wind dynamics within this particular system, which I'm going to need to zoom out to look at that. So we're freeze framed again. This is actually going to be 3 o'clock in Illinois time and 4 o'clock Indiana time. So if you get a look at the wind dynamics with this setup, look at the 850 millibar winds, 40 to 50 knots. There's going to be a lot of strong speed and directional shear within this system, okay? 700 millibar height, again, showing favorable wind dynamics of 50 to 60 knots ahead of this line of storms, and then 500 millibar jet also will support some stronger supercell thunderstorms within this MCV. Now, looking at the instability that we'll have in the atmosphere, we will have a little bit of instability ahead of this setup. Instability values of around 1,000, and then also instability of about 2,000 in some spots as well as these storms move off to the east, okay? So there is going to be instability being pulled into this MCV, okay? It's actually being pulled into the low pressure system itself. You can really see it being pulled. And then the bulk shear, you do have a lot of wind shear out ahead of these storms, and that wind shear is really going to foster a lot of these, a lot of more severe potential, a lot of storm relative felicity with these storms that pop up as well. A lot of spin in the atmosphere associated with these. Supercell composite values with these are close to 10. Your significant tornado parameters also will start to appear and continue to show up with these. Now I'm thinking it'll probably be tornado potential, but significant tornadoes maybe. But I do see the potential for some supercells capable of producing a possible tornado. Cape values of 1900 with these storms. Low cloud bases, lots of speed and directional shear, nice curvature on that photograph. Storm relative felicity of close to 500 it's showing on the NAM. Again, that might be a little bit overstretched, but it is still quite a solid value for this MCV, which is why, again, I think the SPC is going to upgrade this area to maybe a slight risk for severe weather, or even an enhanced risk if this amounts to anything. And we'll see that in their latest update probably come tomorrow morning, and we'll see if they're seeing this in the models as well, because there's actually some model agreement on this, despite the fact there was model agreement before, but then this MCV also started coming into agreement with the models, and that's where we see the shift from this is going to be a Saturday event, and the Sunday event is going to stay out farther to the west, okay? It's kind of all slowed down at this point. So I think Great Lakes region, not going to see as much severe weather Sunday, and I think that threat's going to go down. I think the focus of severe weather for Indiana is going to be tomorrow in the central portion between the I-70, I-74 corridor. That's going to be it's a pretty tight space, but it's a spot that looks favorable for severe weather development. And you've got low cloud bases ahead of this setup. So where exactly are these storms going to go? That's what we'll look at right now, okay? So we're going to zoom back in on a local view. I don't want Michigan. Michigan's just going to be seeing rain on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I don't think there's going to be too much outside of that. But let's do a quick model comparison and see what all the models are saying about this event. I'm going to actually go to 5 p.m. Actually, no, 4 p.m. is better. But you can see that you've got these storms beginning to fire along this region. NAM agrees that there's going to be a cluster of storms in this general area, and then you get a sounding ahead of the regular NAM. Still showing that severe potential, still showing that hodograph, high storm relativity, low cloud bases, strong directional speed shear. One thing it shows is a lack of cape. If there is a lack of instability, that will change things a little bit. HRRR also shows those storms firing on the backside of it, packing that severe potential. Lower storm relativity values, but still a lot of similarities between the NAM3K, GFS, showing it displaced further to the north. I think that one's a little bit of an outlier. The fact that it's displaced that far to the north, I don't think that's what we'll expect. RFS also showing that cell on western Indiana along the between the I-70 and I-74 corridor. This is going to be a hot spot tomorrow. I really think that's going to be a pretty decent hot spot for severe weather, and that is why I'm making the 4-hour drive to storm chase in this region. It's going to be a hot spot. It's going to be a place that it's going to be pretty active. So I'll be chasing here. I think it's probably going to begin to weaken as we get out into... It's very likely going to weaken as it gets closer to Indianapolis. You can see that there's a very profound, there's very high cloud tops with these going way up there. A lot of speed and directional shear still present. Good tornado potential. Doesn't really show a very significant tornado with that, but still you can see that this cell is going to pop and go. It's going to be surging off to the east, moving slow, but still packing a lot of potential all the way through even 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Definitely a storm to watch tomorrow, early afternoon, 4 p.m. So that is what I'm going to be chasing tomorrow. It's going to be quite an interesting setup. We'll see if the models are the same in the morning. I mean, this has been a really tough forecast to go for, but it really has been a lot more consistent ever since this MCV has appeared ahead of the main storm system. So that's going to be the target area. So stay tuned for storm chase mode. That's going to be happening tomorrow. I will be with another guy that's going to be joining in with me on this chase. So make sure to subscribe and stay updated. And this is probably not going to be the last video before the chase actually happens. So just be aware of that. Stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. And if you're in this I-70, I-74 corridor tomorrow, watch the weather. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all later.